Ron Harris here from MuscleDevelopment.com. Our coverage of the Olympia weekend brought to you by High Tech Pharmaceuticals. We're wrapping up Friday night. We just had finals for several divisions and judging for the Mr. Olympia. I'm joined here by Giles Thomas and two very important people in this industry. We have legendary bodybuilder Flex Wheeler, won the Arnold Classic 4 times, 3-time runner-up at the Olympia. It's hard to remember all these.
Best pro debut in the history of the entire sport has been broken.
Uncrowned Mr. Olympia. Let's just leave it at that. Many people consider him the best bodybuilder of all time, regardless of titles. One of the greatest coaches this industry has ever known, Hany Rambod. So he has a very good eye for physiques. So very happy to have him joining us. So I'm just going to go through some of the other divisions real quick because they all work very hard and deserve some recognition. Whitney Jones won the Fitness Olympia for the 2nd year in a row. Very well deserved. Second place was Missy Farrell Truscott. Not sure what name she's going by. Rael Graber in 3rd. Jacqueline Baker in 4th. Tiffany Chandler in 5th. We had Women's Physique Olympia. Shanique Grant won again. That was, how many times has she won?
3rd.
This would be a 3rd win, I think? Yeah, I mean, she's like the poster child for women's physique. Sarah Villegas on the rise, 2nd place. 3rd place went to 23-year-old Natalia Abraham Coelho, who was 2nd place last year, but still has plenty of time. Another Brazilian, Daniele Castillo in 4th, and Laura Pintado Chinchilla in 5th. And in the Figure Olympia, we had Sydney Gilliland winning her 3rd title, very well deserved. Latoya Watts, another 2-time winner, came up in 2nd. Nadia Wyatt in 3rd. Jessica Reyes Padilla in 4th. 5th was Carly Starling Harrell. Now, let's get into the 212 Olympia. We had some shakeups, some real shakeups this year. Starting in 5th place from Kuwait, he's been runner-up twice, but this year he fell down to 5th place. Ahmad Ashkanani. Flex, you've seen him compete many times before. How was this Ahmad compared to the Ahmad that you've seen before, especially when he took 2nd to Flex Lewis on a couple occasions?
This wasn't his best whatsoever, and I think his placing replaced that, showed that. I'm not overly confident that he's going to be happy about how he looked. I think he's going to be even more pissed off about his placing. I'm not really sure his placing reflected how he should have really done, but it's a bodybuilding show, so it's subjective always.
Honey, do you think he's regressing physique-wise, or is this just an indication of the competition getting better, or what was going on?
I think it's just really, the competition is always, getting better to a degree, but I think when I look at his physique, he just needs to get those legs a little bit more separated, and that's where he lacks the most in regards to the rest of his body.
What about development, too, in the quads?
Yeah, the quads and the quad separation, because it'll help match up that upper body, and I think that'll bring him right back to the top again once he gets that dialed in. He's got to get that formula down.
Yeah. Charles, your thoughts on Ahmad?
Based on the call-outs, I thought he was going to get 4th. But I think he stalled a little bit in the last couple of years. I think he was better than he was last year when he took 4th place last year, didn't he? And he took 5th place this year. I mean, 5th place, I thought 5th place was going to be taken by Sami Al-Haddad, but 4th, 5th, I think is fair. I think he needs to just drop a little bit of body weight for next year, and just try and get everything a bit more proportion and get some, like Hany said, get some more separation going in the legs, I know we keep saying this year after year. His hamstrings, glutes, everything's shredded, everything's separated, but the quads, they need more separation.
Yeah, it's a total physique contest, and you're not going to win this without great legs. 4th place was kind of a surprise. He's doing very well this year. I saw him win in Chicago. John Jewett. I certainly, a year ago, if you told me this guy was going to be top 5 in the Olympia, I'd be very, very. I wouldn't have thought so. John Jewett. Was this guy on your radar? Are you starting paying any attention to him?
No, I seen him when he won his show at the it was Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Chicago Pro Show, but I'm a firm believer, listen, that's first and that's last. So I don't think anybody shows up to take 2nd to be the bridesmaid or anything like that. So at the end of the day, I mean, it is what it is. It was a hard competition, so.
Honey, what do you think of John Jewett?
I think he looks good. It's the first time I've seen him in person, and I thought that he looks really good. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him.
Okay. That takes us to 3rd place, the giant killer, Sean Clarita, who would put on another 10 pounds. He's probably about 5'1", 172 pounds, packed. He's been called a mini Flex Wheeler. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Flex's name gets thrown around all the time.
I don't know him, but I'll take the credit for it.
So I guess we'll start with you because they do compare him to you because of the round muscle bellies, the structure. I remember meeting this kid when he was competing at about 130 pounds, and wow, it doesn't even look like the same person.
Right.
We'll start with you, Hany. We'll break up the order here. Very impressed with this guy?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been impressed with him. Honestly, I keep telling everybody that if he was just about 3 or 4 inches taller, he could be Mr. Olympia. You know what I mean? Because he is one of those guys that is round, has great shape, gets deep separation, but he's maximizing what he's working with, which is a smaller structure, but he just gets more separated and he's getting denser, and that's why he's moving up the ranks.
Yeah. So, big fan of this guy?
Huge fan of him. Met him a couple of times. Super, super nice guy. And, his physique is phenomenal. What's the crazy thing about it is, no matter where he started at, the muscle that he's put on, you can tell his body can handle even more muscle. And like Hany said, he's just getting mature, bubbles of muscle coming off of him and everything like that. I think this guy's going to continue climbing up.
Well, he's got 40 pounds left in that weight class. He could theoretically gain 40 pounds. Well, I mean,
on him, 10 pounds would look like 40.
Yes, yeah. Right, I mean, absolutely. That's what he put on this year, and it looked. It made a huge difference.
Yeah, he looks great, man.
Giles, you've had him on your Global Muscle Radio several times. Mm-hmm. I know you've been very supportive of Sean. You actually thought he could have won. He looked that good.
Yeah, at the prejudging, I thought. I know Dennis James had him winning. I had him a clear first or second at the judging, but this is a guy that weighed in 160 pounds last year, weighed in, I think he said 170 or 172, but when he said to me a few weeks ago, he says, Giles, I'm going to be 10 pounds heavier, and I was like, yeah, it's not 10 pounds heavier on a guy that short, that's like 25 pounds on like a Steve Cooklow. I just didn't see that it was going to happen. And he did it. He weighed in. I mean, I think he was probably maybe 172, 73 on stage. And it just blows my mind what this guy has done. I mean, every single year, he's done a Ronnie Coleman. He's gone from 16th to 11th, I think 13th, 11th, 7th, and now he's 3rd. And I mean, he could have been 2nd or even 1st. I think it's absolutely incredible what he's achieved. Amazing.
And I give him, I give him a lot of credit because a few years ago, if you told me he was going to be someone fighting for the title and he possibly could win the 212, I would have said you're crazy. He's never going to be, he doesn't have the size, he's too short, this and that. But, man, I love when these guys prove me wrong. I really do.
Some of the best condition in the whole Olympia that I've seen so far. Incredible.
Yeah. So the favorite going into this show was Derek Lunsford because he was runner-up last year to Flex Lewis. Flex Lewis retired. But you know what? Being the runner-up and being the heir apparent means nothing in this sport. So exactly. So let's start with you because, I remember 1998 New York. Everyone's like, oh, okay, it's Flex's show. But anything can happen. Anything can happen at the Olympia.
Anything can happen. It's a bodybuilding show, man. What do you want? I mean, but at the end of the day, you just want the best person to win. So I was really shocked with it opening up with Flex Lewis leaving and everything like that. So he wasn't able to capitalize on it. I don't even think he looked as good as he did as last year.
Really?
No, I don't think so at all. Not to me.
Wow.
No. You do?
You know what? We talked about it. I'm a fan of Derek. I love his shape. I love his structure.
Yeah, I worked with him before.
I'd love to see more separation detail. There's just not enough going on. He called him a mini Jay Cutler, and in some ways, Jay didn't have a lot of detail up here. So I don't know. I hope he gets it. It's a muscle maturity thing.
Doesn't carry Jay's size either. It's a big difference.
True. He's probably about 50 pounds lighter than Jay. What do you think Derek needs to do to get this title?
I think what he needs to do is he really needs to work on getting the quality muscle, and that comes from time. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to rush it. And, I mean, how old is he?
He's 26.
He's 26 years old. Yeah. So he's really young. And
his first contest was in 2015, by the way.
Okay, so there's two things going on here. He's not very old. He's young. And his muscle maturity, the actual muscle, it hasn't marinated. And for you to be able to marinate it and do shows and be able to really get that grainy look and get that separation, and you want to get those muscle fibers to really stand out, especially after you dry out, what ends up happening is you need that little bit of time. I noticed through the backside, he looked better than he did last year. From the front, he still just needs more separation.
Yeah.
So, and he needs to be a little bit drier and more separation. So he's improving, but obviously Kamal's 47 years old that beat him, and he's got lots of muscle maturity.
Yes.
Lots of muscle maturity. So he was dry, he was grainy, he had separation, so he had all of those other things. So again, a guy that's 47, that's old enough to be his dad, is turning around and edged him, but Lunsford's got a huge career ahead of him. He's got time on his side, but it's just a matter of how he uses it to be able to get to that next level now. How does he get that in terms of motivation?
See, I'm curious though, because Rami, we've been trying to see more muscle maturity out of him, and I don't see it. I just don't see any more from year to year, I don't see it happening for him. Do some guys just never get it?
Yeah, some guys never get it. There's a lot of different things that happen that they were going through their preps and whatnot, and it makes it difficult making a body that. Again, I don't know what Ramy does to say analyze and go back, but sometimes they just have a way of doing things that is kind of fundamentally broken that needs to change, and sometimes it can be genetic, but I always feel like there's always something that's underlying that was causing that. I've seen some pictures of him recently that looks better than he did on stage. Yeah. But again, that's no stress. That's no, and you know what that does to you.
It's really easy to look great when you're standing by yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially in that one mirror, and well, actually he's not in oxygen anymore. But gym mirrors are awesome.
We call that magic light, right? When I'm
call it the steroid mirror.
the steroid mirror.
Oh, now we're getting controversial. Giles, you and I were arguing about. I had Derek winning in after the judging, and you had Kamal winning after the judging. Good thing I didn't make a bet because I would have lost some money. But the night show, you thought for the finals, Derek he improved. He sharpened up a lot, and you thought he was going to pull off the win.
I've never seen anyone improve that much in 8 hours. I mean, I was very impressed at the pre-judging with how much size he'd put on, but I was very disappointed when he started posing, and like nothing in his chest and his shoulders was popping, and it didn't look like water. It was like fat. And then tonight, things were kind of happening, and I thought, okay, I know they like Lunsford because I think he got second last year. I had him third last year. I was thinking this guy could win it tonight. I thought he'd actually pulled ahead enough, but that whole top three was so close. I mean, I think it could have really gone to any of those three. I really do. Yeah.
So the craziest Cinderella story of the night, Kamala Garni. Is he 47 or 48? Do you know?
Yeah, he's 47, 48.
Whatever.
It's hard to say. He's old. Okay, he's old. He didn't do his first. Well, I think he did an IFBB show many years ago. But let's just put it this way. He basically waited a long time to jump.
By choice.
Yeah, exactly. He was trying to get his pro card for a while. Yeah. Didn't really show it. None of us really were aware of him except for Giles until last year when he won the Arnold Classic. But if you told me this guy was going to pull off an Olympia win, I'd be like, yeah, right, whatever. I mean, when was the first time you saw him, and how impressed were you?
Tonight. Extreme, yeah, tonight, and extremely impressed. I didn't think it would go any other way.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. After seeing him on stage.
Where do you think he beats these guys on?
Where he beats them on?
Yeah.
Overall, everything. So it's not just to be able to beat somebody, you can't just beat him in one area and that's it. So I think he distinctively beat everybody in every category just enough. So it wasn't like he overly stand out or anything like that. He didn't have overpowering crazy legs like he was a gunslinger or a quadzilla or anything like that, but he is extremely balanced and great condition, and his muscle and his body flew together. So yeah, definitely. So if this is his second potential show and his first victory, I mean...
Hany, did you have him clearly winning this?
Yeah. I did. Again, I looked at some of the pictures. When I saw just the pictures, the back double bicep, I think Derek was really kind of hanging in a little bit. Yeah. But the same as Giles, I think the shoulders, the arms, he needs more separation, a little bit more dryness through that, through the upper body. And that's just going to come with a little bit of time, man.
Yeah. Maturity as his muscle is great. Yeah.
See, I thought Derek was going to pull off the win just basically based on the structure and the shape. I thought that was going to do it, but like you said, it's an overall thing, and he had enough.
Once he gets that, he will win.
Yeah.
And because he's got, out of the group that's out there right now, he's got a really, really good shape.
Yeah, the most potential of growing and everything like that, and his age bracket also. So yeah.
So Giles, you basically, I don't want to say discovered, but but I mean, how long have you known Kamal?
I've known him since 2000.
So you've known this guy almost 20 years.
I've been photographing him since 2001 when he was doing the NABBA shows, and I mean, right back to when, I know only once have I ever seen him not in good condition. That was in 2013 when he got second at the Arnold Classic in the amateur in the under 90 kilo. No, he's actually went into the heavyweights, and I said he should have dropped 4 kilos. I said, no, you should have dropped under 100 kilos. I said, because that's where you sit best. And he disagreed with me. And I've never seen him off since. The detail, the separation, the condition, the muscle maturity, the presentation.
Yes, he did it all.
It's all my credit. Yeah. No, it's I'm over the moon. And the thing is, the question is now. He said to me that he said to me, I went to his gym at the end of last year, and he was like a coming home thing. And he said, Giles, he said, my goal is, he says, I'm going to start prepping in January. I want to win the Olympia, and then I'm going to retire. Yeah. But the thing is, they say that until they win. So now, it's like if Dexter wins tomorrow night, is he going to retire? I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I don't think he will. And I don't think Kamal will either.
Wow. So he's still going. Well, I give you credit because you were the one who told me how great this guy was, and I didn't listen. Then he won the Arnold. I said, okay, I guess he's pretty good.
He wasn't exactly a secret, though. I mean, everyone kind of knows
Over
about
here,
him.
not over here.
We all know about him over our side of the world.
In Europe, they might know him. In the Middle East, I'm sure they know him. But over here, nobody knew who he was until last year. Trust me. I never heard that name in my life. Okay, let's get into the Mr. Olympia. We had the judging for the Mr. Olympia. That's the big show. Some of the guys I was looking forward to being in great condition were not. I don't want to single anyone out, but I got to start with Cedric because he got a special invite, and I was really hoping, everyone's hoping, I've been hoping for 10 years for this guy to really pull it off because he's got such a beautiful everything, structure, shape. It's a fantastic physique, and I've never seen him pull it together. And tonight he was just way, in my eyes, way off.
Hany said he wanted to go first when it came to Cedric.
No, I just, I think you put it in a nutshell. I think we all want Cedric because we think to do well and come in shape because we think, I know personally, he's got the best structure and the best potential up there, period.
Yeah.
It's just that it's what you do with it. Potential is what you do with it. So, unfortunately, it was just not his night.
Yeah. And you must be a fan. That's a classic
Oh, yeah,
physique.
of course. But listen, hard work trumps talent when talent refuses to work hard. So, it doesn't really matter to me. I think the best physician should always win. But of course, he has the best structure and everything else like that. But you got to bring it to you got to bring that shit to the table, especially when you want to be the world's best. So I was a little shocked that he would be that far off. But unfortunately, when you have a great physique, people have great expectations. They just want to see you. It's like Usain Bolt. We just want to see him run full speed all the way through the 100 meters, right? Yeah. And he didn't deliver on that. So, it is what it is.
Because he got the special invitation because his Army duties made it impossible for him to prep for a show to qualify. So that right there had me skeptical all along. If he couldn't even have the time to train and diet and everything to qualify for the show, how's he going to pull it all together in like 6 weeks?
I would have no idea. I know how difficult it was for me mentally and everything else I had to go through getting ready for a show, but imagine being in a service and what he must have to do and go through and see to still be able to come into that. So I give him accolades for that, definitely.
It's got to be almost time for him to retire by now, right? Seems like he's been in the Army quite a while.
Yeah, he still has a lot left.
The Army? No, not from bodybuilding, from the Army.
Oh, I'm like, really, dog?
So he can focus on...
Are you kidding? No.
Oh, so he could... if he could be a full-time bodybuilder, imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure that if, once he can max out all of his benefits and whatever it is, that I'm sure that he's going to be able to focus more on
He's got
bodybuilding.
4 kids, I think.
Country becomes before a job, though.
Country and his family, too.
Yeah, man. So, Cedric, if you're watching this, thank you for your service, brother.
We do, and, we're glad you're doing that, but we know you could be the best bodybuilder you could be if you were all...
What he's doing now, protecting us, so...
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Giles, Cedric McMillan, we were all skeptical. You were even talking to Phil about this.
Yeah, I said on Global Muscle episode 34 or 35, I said my fear is that the special invite came too late. And I don't think, we had Jay Cutler on the show, and he said, I don't think getting the special invite that late, you're going to be able to pull it and get in that mindset. You've got to be in that mindset that you're doing the Olympia all year round, or at least 4 or 5 months out, not 5 weeks out, and think, right, I've got to really...
Pedal to the metal. Yeah,
Pedal to the metal, yeah. I can't remember the phrase. But, he's the biggest disappointment of the night because, I said 4 or 5 years ago, there's 2 guys I thought could take the Olympia off Phil Heath. One was Sean Roden, and one was Cedric. So I was really hoping Cedric was going to pull it out the bag, but sadly not. Yeah.
Okay. Steve Kuklo, I was very impressed with Steve. I've been impressed with Steve for a long time. I've never considered him a top 5, top 6 Olympia guy in the past, but... the scene has changed. It's different cast of characters now. And to me, this is the best Kuklo I've ever seen. What do you think about Steve?
I think also, but I think he had it right when he said at the press conference that, he's used to kicking indoors. So I think he definitely kicked indoors. It was a little lackluster because a lot of the guys that we thought was just going to nail it would have been wide open since '98. I think it's been open like that. A lot of them didn't hit their peak, but he came in, I think, one of the best conditions that he has before. So kudos to that. We have to wait till tomorrow to see what happens.
Hany, you know Steve very well. You coached him, so you're very familiar with this physique. You've watched him improve. How much better a bodybuilder is he now than when he won the USA years ago?
I think his body's completely changed, right? I think ultimately you'd have to take photos and see, because I worked with him when he won the USA overalls in 2011. I worked with him when he was ninth at the Olympia in a pretty stacked lineup. And I think he had a couple of off years. He started coming back a little bit. He looked really good in New York a couple years ago. And again, now he's up there and he's battling it out in the top 6, top 7. So again, take the opportunity. He's moving up, learning from his mistakes that he's made in the past, getting his body. And I think that right now you can tell he's ready to battle. You can tell mentally he's ready. And that's what at the moment I'm
mentality. It seemed like he was the only one up there who wanted to kick some ass. Everybody else was kind of just, they're here. I mean, he was the only one yelling. He had atmosphere. He was projecting. It seemed like he was the only one who really wanted to just have fun up there, especially the last call-out when he was up there next to Dexter. Yeah. I mean, looking at Dexter's composing or his, I was like,
So, he turned pro as a kid. He was like 24 years old when he turned pro. 25. I mean, so he'd be 30. He's older now. I'm bad at math, but I mean.
33.
So, do you feel like, honey, do you think he's getting to his prime now as a bodybuilder?
I think he could be. I think he's right on the cusp. It's called, what I call it, he's at the crossroads right now. He could max out. Yeah. And this is the best he's going to get, and then people are going to get stacked up and jump ahead of him. Or what he's going to really do is he's going to be able to push it and get right through. Now, it's really up to him and the hard work that he's going to put in going forward, because, again, it doesn't get any easier. So, you might get a couple of easier years, kind of like this year, where you don't have a stacked lineup with a big Ramey, a Phil, a Sean, a blah, 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 right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're going to get a bunch of people, and they're going to start leveling up ahead of you if you don't push yourself to the top. Yeah. But right now, he's right at that cusp.
Yeah. You're always going to have new talent coming in, it's going to change. So definitely, I mean, he's at the time now where either make it or not, because I don't think it's going to get too much easier than it is right now to be able to push up. Yeah.
Giles, Steve Kuklo, I know you were very impressed. You've been talking to him. He's been a guest on your show a couple times. What do you think about Steve tonight versus Steve that you've seen in the past?
For me, it's only really him and Hady that really delivered. I think it's the best I've ever seen him, and I think he's got top 6. In fact, I'd have no problems with him beating Rolly.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Rolly for a second, shall we? I've seen Rolly better for sure. He's still massive. He's still got those crazy body parts and the shape. For me, this was like an 85%, 83% Rolly. Generous? Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I would have even had him in the, sorry, Rolly, first call out just based on the condition.
To be honest, I mean, as an athlete, I think you should prefer somebody being honest with you instead of somebody just blowing smoke up your dress. So it is what it is. But, I seen pictures of him in his face, and I never seen his face that detail. I'm like, geez, man, I didn't even recognize him. When he walked out on stage, I'm like, wow, what the fuck is going on here? So, we really don't know. It doesn't mean that a person didn't work hard. I mean, me, Hany, we competed and worked with people at a high level. You can be key. And I've always said it to Steve all the time. It doesn't matter what the freak somebody looks like in their videos or anything like that. It's only that 45 fucking minutes that you're on stage that matters. Doesn't matter what you look like before or after. So obviously something went hellishly wrong, I think, for him to come out like that. And, after seeing a couple of the first guys come out on stage, like me and Dennis, like, fuck, man, Rolly could win this based on if he came out. And when he came out, I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Would the Rolly of last year have maybe won this show?
I think it would have been an argument for him not to have, unlike it's not an argument for him to tomorrow.
So, Hany, I know it might not have been something under his control. Something could have gone wrong in the last few hours.
No, well, I also heard, and again, I don't know if this is a rumor or whatnot, that he got hurt.
The hamstring tear?
Yeah, and his hamstring. I could tell there was a little bit of washed outness, and I think it was his left hamstring, I believe, But the whole point is, if it was as serious as what I heard it was, it's something that definitely could affect everything. Yeah. So it takes the whole body.
I heard his head went 3 weeks out. I heard it just affected him mentally. And
and
went into a spiral.
Again, this is 90% mental at this point, right?
Yeah, it is.
And no disrespect to you, but at the end of the day, I really feel that the man next to me could have won a lot of the Olympias if he would have had the right people in his corner to keep him where he needed to be.
And injuries really don't matter. I mean, I remember, when Ronnie broke his toe, dropped a big weight on it, and I was like, fuck, I won, finally. Yeah. And I'm kind of politely giving him a call, like, hey, Ronnie, I heard, he goes, yeah, I'm okay. I'm like, I heard you broke. He goes, yeah, but I'll be there. I'm like, shit, really? So at the end of the day, it's just how mentally strong you are. It doesn't matter. I mean, sometimes you just got to muscle through things and look at the bigger picture. And for whatever reason, I wasn't to happen. But injuries can affect you overall, and especially, you know, the old saying where your mind goes, your body follows. So if that truly did mess with him mentally, then the whole body's going to flood and be inundated.
Right. So, and we all don't know how bad it was, because I've heard he went to the hospital. I mean, you know, I've had a lot of athletes strain, you know, partially tear. They never go to the hospital, right? So if he was actually in the hospital, it could have been something serious. So it could have been a lot, you know. So we don't know what the trickle-down effect of that really was.
So maybe he should have bypassed the show.
Well, when you put in that much
exactly.
work,
I agree with
bro,
Flex
come on.
I wouldn't have bypassed the show.
Okay.
But we just don't know how much that affected the last things, because we all saw the videos and pictures of him, you know, at Oxygen, and him looking like a human tick that was getting ready to
yes,
explode.
in that mirror.
Yeah.
But even
The magic mirror.
even with the mirror, that was still massive. Now, so, you know, it was an opportunity for Rolly, because the two guys that beat him last year weren't here. This really was such a golden opportunity for Rolly to jump in and become Mr. Olympia. And I hate to think that it was something like a gym injury that might have ruined his chances for 2019 Olympia.
As a big Rolly fan, I'm very disappointed, very disappointed. I mean, I was so excited for what he brought last year, especially on the Saturday. I mean, I think there's an argument, sorry Phil, that he could have beat Phil on the Saturday. That's how good he was, you know, and I don't know.
Oh, damn it.
Sorry, Phil. No, it's I hope he can pull it around a little bit for tomorrow. But I've got him in sixth.
Okay, fair enough. The Blade, Dexter Jackson, the only man who has won an Olympia that was on that stage tonight. 50 years old in a few weeks. It would have been insane if he was in the running for the win. He looked really good. I think I've seen him better. I wanted him to win. I'm a big fan of Dexter's, have been for many, many years. But where did you see Dexter as far as the best Dexter you've seen compared to what you saw tonight?
No, it's not an argument that we didn't see the best Dexter of all times. I mean, it is what it is, and obviously everybody knows how close I am, but as close as I am, I have to be brutally honest. His physique was obvious that he was off, but what I read into is your mind frame. So I'm staring at his eyes, I'm looking at his disposition, how he's carrying himself, and it looks like even to himself that he didn't feel like he was going to win the show. I mean, it looked like he was very fatigued, and he wasn't even pushing the envelope. And I was looking at him, and it's like there was no fight, there was no grit in him. So I'm not really sure what's going on. But at the end of the day, there's no one who's won as many shows as a man has. I think he's done over 20 Olympias. So you got to give the guy mad respect. And at the age of going into 50, I mean, I can't say anything negative about that. He'll go down as one of the greatest athletes of all times in our sport. So at the end of the day, you got to step back, and especially when you're descending down the hill, you got to look at your overall picture and not be focused in on just one thing. I think once he sets back and look at everything that he's achieved, that he'll be smiling for the rest of his life. But overall, tomorrow, I don't think he'll be smiling.
See, you've always said Father Time is undefeated, which basically he is.
Yes, he is.
But I was in Tampa and I saw his legs were coming back, so I really had high hopes that wow, he's going to do it. He's going to finally get his physique back to where it was from 2008.
I had him winning. I was like, he's a man to beat. Only reason he wouldn't win is because he didn't achieve his job and he didn't achieve his objective tonight. So we got one more night. I mean, it's possible. Anything can happen. Whoever we have who's thinking that's going to be first or second can F up, and guys who are a little bit behind him could catch up. So we'll wait and see. But as right now, it's not what I was expecting at all whatsoever.
So, Hany, what did you see with him? Did you see condition? Was it a lack of fullness? What do you think was the issue with Dexter, that he wasn't at 100%?
I think that there was a lack of fullness, but I also feel that his muscle is just starting to deteriorate a little bit. And believe it or not, I think what hurt him the most is doing Tampa.
Yes.
I think doing Tampa took it out of him. I think if he would have looked the way he did in Tampa here, and he wouldn't have done Tampa, he would have been way better off. So that's my opinion. Looking at it, going.
He used to be able to peak easily 3, 4, 5 times a year. I saw him do it many times.
Right, but that's back when you're 40, not 49.
Yeah.
And things are changing. So that's what I think. Now again, he ultimately knows, and his team know, if there was some last minute errors that might have deflated him or done this or done that. He'll know that. But I think from the outside in, I look at it and go, hey, it's really a matter of, if he has one show to do, it would have been better to do the Olympia. That was my opinion.
The minute he came out, because I was in Tampa, I said, he looked better in Tampa. Damn it. And he didn't even need to look that good.
Sometimes you're judged about, your best condition before. It doesn't really matter the lineup. It is what it is. And, we all know that when you have extraordinary talent, people have great expectations of you. And when you fail to meet those, they overlook you and look at the next person. So.
Giles, Dexter. I mean, I was rooting for him to win. I'm sure sentimentally, you've been a fan of his for years too.
Yeah.
You saw him compete many years ago as well. Where do you think he could have been better tonight?
Well, looking at the pluses, looking back from Tampa, I was so impressed how he brought his legs back up this year. Because, I mean, even in 2012, we thought, oh, his legs are starting to deteriorate. He brought them back. They deteriorate. They've come back. And I'm really pleased because he had a bit of distension in Tampa, and he didn't have that tonight. I didn't notice it. He's holding a little bit of film of water, but I'm quite impressed with what he's brought tonight. I think he's got to go. I think he's going to be a good solid 4th or 5th place.
Yeah.
I think he's going to. I think I'd have him ahead of Rowley. And I think the fact that a good pro career is what, 10 years?
Yeah.
Look at the good pro career. I mean, he got 9th place in his first Mr. Olympia in '99. He was 7th in the Arnold in '99. I mean, it's incredible the fact that guy is still, as a potential winner. The fact that we're even talking about going into the Olympia blows my mind. So absolutely fantastic, Dexter.
Yeah, and like Flex said, if he gets 5th place, it's no reflection. It's still amazing. The guy's had the greatest career probably of anybody overall.
I don't know. I don't think the sport will last long enough for somebody to break that record.
No, I mean, who's going to win 29 shows? Who's going to win 29 shows?
Yeah, man.
Who's going to win 9 Olympias, So that brings us to William the Conqueror Bonac from Netherlands. So the big story a couple months ago was he separated from his coach. He went into this contest, Olympia, the biggest show of the year, without a coach, which seemed like suicide, competitive suicide to a lot of people. He didn't look any different to me. He looked as good as he ever looked.
He looked better than he did at the Arnold.
Yeah, and I mean,
what'd you think? And regardless, he gets to keep all of his money.
well, you got to give the government some, but
Other than that, you know what? I have him between 1st and 2nd right now. Yeah, definitely. I thought his condition got a lot better. I was happily shocked that he came in as good a shape as he did, especially from watching his videos and his feeds of what he was going through and everything like that. So regardless, I think he's going to be a very happy man tomorrow.
Do you have him at that high, possibly?
Yeah. I mean, I think that.
Well, you got to understand, he has another guy going.
Well, I guess.
Yeah.
But
He's being objective.
Yeah,
I've always been a William Bonac fan. I think that he's the closest, and the reason why so much is because he's got that three-dimensional muscle belly that was very similar to Phil.
Yes.
And when you have that 3D look and you have that crazy separation, I'm a fan of that because it makes everything just much more pop. Yeah. Right. So, I think there's a bunch of guys in the top 3 or 4 that are mixing it up, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses, including my guy. Right. So I'm going to try to be completely unbiased about it. But when you look at him, I think that he came in looking really good. I think he looked amazing. Yeah. I think now, can you always be a little fuller, a little this? Yeah. You can always be there. But at the end of the day, I thought he brought it. I thought William brought it.
Yeah. Giles, you've been following William. You were one of the first people who you put him in his column, 9 years ago.
It was end of 2010, start of 2011. I remember interviewing him at the British Grand Prix in 2012 when he was at 212. Yep. And I remember somebody saying over my shoulder, saying, who that is Giles interviewing? Yeah. And I was like, look, this guy's, because I was actually alerted to him. And
he did.
Yeah. But tonight I'm relieved and I'm impressed. Yeah. I'm really, but there's one thing, there's something going on in his legs that was a bit different. So his lower quad looks like he's atrophied.
Really?
But from every other angle, the side.
Yeah. Weird. I don't know if he had an injury or something. Huh. But now that you mention it, I remember seeing a little something. But it was.
Yeah, but the side and the back, they look as good as they've ever looked. So I think he looks fantastic. I think it's one of those 3 guys that could potentially win this.
Yeah, wow. Okay, that brings us to the Persian Wolf, Hadi Choopan, who I never thought was going to step on U.S. soil. I thought, not until we got a new president maybe, and some policies changed. But Hany Rambod, the Olympia promoters, I don't know. It happened. Somehow they pulled together, got him a visa.
All of us, all the athletes, we're all pulling from to get here. Yeah, definitely.
And I think everyone who's a bodybuilding fan was rooting for this guy to get here because I want to see the best people every year at the Olympia. This is our show. Yeah. It's not the same if we're missing anybody who's the best in the world. And Hadi's been qualified for this like 3 times, the past 3 years?
212s, a couple of times, and then obviously this year in both the 212 and the Open.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the man who was able to bring him here and the man who coached him and brought him to this show in that crazy condition. You know, I'm sure you weren't surprised at what he looked like because you've.
No, and honestly, I'm not going to take credit for all of Hady's success. With me, him and I mean, first of all, he does all the hard work. He's done a ton of shows. What I brought in was a lot of the training aspects to it. That's what I did, and I helped him with the visa through Evogen because we were the sponsor, and we brought the team together, and his team in Dubai with Hady Passafar, his brother Mehdi. Those guys did an amazing job working the Middle Eastern front for us to work on his actual U.S. visa with the consulate in Dubai. Wow. I mean, it was literally like a page out of Argo, like the movie Argo. You know, I mentioned it several times. There could be a movie made out of this. But at the end of the day, I thought that he really brought a great package. Was it easy? No. Do I think that it was comparable to Vancouver? I think Vancouver's color was better. I think the lighting was a little bit different. And again, when you're trying to simulate a look there, but do I think that he brings a lot of things that the other guys don't? Yes. I mean, with his legs, with his structure.
I'll tell you what, if he would have looked like the way he did in Vancouver, he would be talking about him, no problem for the first place. No, he would have won his show hands down. He just made it more competitive. But, you know, as an athlete, I think it was just great to finally see him be able to make it here. I mean, I was really rooting for him. I think everybody is. And what's crazy is our sport is less political than the world is. You know what I mean? In certain areas we can't go, but as athletes, we just want everybody to be able to do the best they can. So I'm just super excited to see him compete here on U.S. soil. And, I mean, whatever decision you guys made for him to jump in the open division was perfect. Because first when I heard it, I was like, why? It just don't make no sense. I mean, he got the 212 locked up, but now I see what they seen. So good choice. Yeah,
I mean, now that you've seen him up against these guys, you feel very confident that was absolutely the right choice?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he wanted to go after the Sandow. He wanted to say, hey, look, that's my goal. That's always been my dream, is to actually be Mr. Olympia. Nothing against the 212 guys, but I'm qualified for both. I'm going to take my shot at trying to win the O. And that was his deal. I said, 100%, I got your back, whatever you decide. And that's what he decided, and I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. All right, and then you also discovered Hady Choopan. Well, again, I never heard of Hady Choopan until Giles went to cover the 2017 San Marino Pro Show.
I was there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we both discovered it. We'll take credit.
I never heard of him, but he went into the open class there and was second to Cedric McMillan. Cedric was much sharper at that show, but at that time you were raving about this guy, and
crazy.
You were the first person to really bring him to my attention. And you know, you've watched him for the past couple of years. Were you very happy to finally get to see this guy in the Olympia where he belongs?
I mean, I've been raving about that San Marino appearance for the last 2 years. I've been going crazy. I believe he weighed 101 kilo, 222. I heard he weighed 270. Hector told us he weighed 217. Hany, is that right? 217.
Well, Hany would know better than Hector.
I never told anybody what his weight was. No, this is...
So the rumor mill.
No, that's misinformation.
What did he weigh?
Misinformation. Actually, I'm going to go weigh him right now. Yep, because last time I did weigh him, he was 222.
Wow.
So, yeah.
You don't know what he weighed in Vancouver?
In Vancouver, he was 222 also.
Oh, okay.
So he was he was right there, just less between morning and night.
Yeah.
You brought up a good point. If he would have looked like he did in San Marino also, he would have shut the door. Yeah, he would have shut the door. But again, it's tomorrow, and we've all seen what he's done with Phil from one night to the other, so I'm expecting for that to happen. So
Phil never looked his best on Friday. Saturday he always.
But you know what? It worked out. It's being strategic. You got to pick one show, one night or the other. Then it's best to come in Saturday because that's the last time people see you on stage and everything like that.
See, I don't get that because this is the judging. I don't even know why do they. I don't get it. I like the old days when it was a one-day show. Judging was in the morning, finals were at night.
It's like fighting in a match. You want to steal that last 10 seconds, not the first 10 seconds. Nobody's going to remember that. Yeah.
So you're holding. So this was 90% Hady Choopan. Tomorrow night will be 100 probably.
We're hoping that comes out to be the
case. Go back and put on his white coat and make it happen. Sure.
I've seen him do it with Jay. I've seen him do it with Phil. So yeah, I'm not doubting it's going to happen. We're gonna lead.
One thing. Yeah. I want to see Hady with some more color tomorrow night. I've already spoke to Hady about it.
Like caramel or something.
Yeah, we need a more of a. Yeah, we've spoken about it. But a bit more color. He looked fantastic.
He'll sort it out. Okay, so the last man we're going to talk about, and certainly not the least, Brandon the Prodigy Curry, going into the show as a heavy favorite, Arnold Classic champ. It looked fantastic. I'll start with you, Giles, because you've been following him along, and you're having him over for a tour very soon over in the UK. Brandon, was this what you hoped and expected he would look like tonight? Did he live up to your expectations for the Olympia?
All I wanted was to see him improve from the Arnold, and I believe he was.
Okay.
I think he's bigger. I think it's still very tight between those three guys. He could be first, he could be second, he could be third. And I think it all depends upon what happens with those three, William Bonac, Hady, and Brandon, in the next 24 hours. So it's down to those three guys now. It really is. But I'm just happy to see him a little bit improved. I think he's still got improvements he needs to make. But yeah, I just, like I said, the next 24 hours are going to be the crunch time.
Flex, you gave him a nickname of Soul Brother Number One, so we'll start with you. You've been following him for a long time.
Yeah, since he was an amateur.
Since he was an amateur, and
He's just done incredible. I would have never imagined that he had that much in his gas tank, and he's still pushing. So I agree with you, Giles, that he definitely looked better than he did at the Arnold Classic. But it's about matchups, right? It's about matchups, and some people can come in 80% and kick ass. Some people have to come in 99% to be able to kick ass. So it's going to be a dogfight for him. He did do his job, but unfortunately, he's one of those bodybuilders that he has to depend on other people whether they do their job 100%. So now saying that, it's definitely going to be a dogfight, but I can't say nothing against the guy. I would have never imagined him as an amateur being sitting up here and won so many shows that he has also. So yeah, definitely.
Even 5 years ago, would you have saw him at this level? We're talking about he's probably going to win the Olympia.
Now, some guys you can look at them and see their potential, right? You can look at them and see their potential, but I would have never dreamed that. I would have never dreamed that. Even Dexter being a lightweight when he first was competing.
Bantamweight.
Bantamweight when he first competed. I would have never dreamed that. But, at the end of the day, it's like I said, nobody comes here to take second place. It's first or it's last. I don't think no one's going to be happy except one effing person tomorrow, and that's going to be the winner. Simple as that.
That's what the judges say. There's only one happy guy at the end of the show. I'm going to give Hany Rambod the last word here. Can Brandon pull this off? I know he's got it is very, very close. It could go to I could see any one of those three guys winning. What's it going to take for Brandon? How much does he have to improve from tonight till tomorrow night?
It's exactly what Flex said, Opposite of what Flex said when it comes to his potential, I actually did think he had Mr. Olympia potential because I signed him to BSN when he was an amateur.
That's right.
So, I'm going to take a little bit of credit for that. And I have worked with Brandon in the past, but I do feel that he's been a little bit of a late bloomer, but now he's really getting things rolling because I thought that he would be at this top 5 level a lot sooner. A while ago, and that's why I think a lot of people forgot about him.
Yes.
But now he's really catching his stride. But when it comes to who's going to win tomorrow night, I really think what happens in the next 24 hours, the comparisons, when they go back and look, they're going to see one person is going to stand up and ahead. And again, when it comes to his shape, his structure, it's beautiful. It's just a matter of every person has their strengths and weaknesses out of those three guys. So we'll see.
I mean, I want to also add, this was supposed to be a lot of people were saying this was going to be the most boring Olympia. We don't have Phil, we don't have Sean, we don't have Rami. This Olympia, Nathan dropped out. This Olympia is going to suck and this and that. You could hear it was electric in there because guys were getting a chance. We had new guys in the show. We had guys who were moving up that we never thought were going to get to this level. I thought it was a pretty thrilling show tonight.
It's going to be a new Mr. Olympia. So that hasn't happened since, Well, it's going to be a wide open Mr. Olympia. That hasn't happened since 1999, 98 actually.
21 years?
So, no, it's going to always be exciting. But I think now just waiting for tomorrow, the anticipation, watching the boards and the internet and seeing what people think and all that crap. But at the end of the day, it don't matter, man. It's going to be that 30 seconds, 30 minutes on stage to be able to display who you got, and that's going to be it. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he's going to do with this guy.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, that's going to be a major player. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's about matchups. Sometimes it just doesn't matter how great you are. It depends on who's standing next to you at that time.
It would be pretty insane if a guy who we never thought we'd see in this country competing, a guy who doesn't speak a word of English, wins Mr. Olympia. So, that would prove it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you have movie star looks and 10 million followers on Instagram. Right. It's your physique.
It should always be the best person win. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether you're black, white, straight, gay, or anything like that, or you're from effing Mars. It's about bodybuilding. The best physique on stage should always win, regardless whether they got a crooked smile or all their teeth or any of that bullshit. It should never come into play. It should never come into play.
Okay. Agree? Okay. Giles? How do you rate this Olympia? Yeah, I know. I'll let him say goodbye or something.
Goodbye. No, that's I agree with the guys. It's wide open, and I quite like. Thing is, Fans complain when it's too predictable. Oh, Phil's going to win again. So and so's going to win again.
always
I'm sick
hated
of this
that.
guy. And now it's like now we've got an Olympia where it's going to come down to those three guys. It's a flip of a coin, and like I said, it's really what happened in the next 24 hours. So for the next 24 hours, I think it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, 24 hours from now, we're gonna have a brand new Mr. Olympia. So how cool is that? Yeah, it's midnight, guys. It's time. We're gonna turn into pumpkins. So I want to thank these guys, Flex Wheeler, Hany Rambod. Thank you guys for joining us, giving us some insights and commentary. You guys have been around. You've had a lot of experience in the game. So thanks, Giles, as well. Another student of the sport. He could rattle off contest results going back a good 20, 25 years. And we're going to find out tomorrow night how the Mr. Olympia shakes out. In the meantime, congratulations to all the winners tonight in the other divisions. And keep up with the coverage here on musculardevelopment.com. We've got everything you need, play-by-play, contest photos, interviews, all that good stuff. Stay right here, and we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks for watching.